And they know that if they said this on the job, or if they said this, you know, in a certain company, or they said this to the media or something of that nature, then, you know, they're going to, you know, the whole weight of the system is going to come down on their heads. But when all you have to do is strike up the conversation, excuse me, with the majority of, you know, Brown Thrasher types in the South, and that Thrasher comes out and he's wanting to fight.
Yeah.
You know, and not fight as in take up arms and kill somebody, but fight as in, you know, really take back ownership of their own political process.
Yeah, well, it's an attitude.
Well, no,
an attitude
absolutely.
of not being pushed around. I'll give you an example. The other day, my dad was at line at a hardware store, and this fella got up right behind him. And, of course, you know, he's one of these Blue Jay types.
Right.
Got up right behind him. And around here, people don't like, you know, you to stand too close to them.
Right.
I mean, you got your own personal space, you know, and like right now we're a little close, but it's a
that's
video.
for the sake of that's for the sake of YouTube, you know, right?
But all right, so got right up on him and kept getting like further, and the tendency for these people is to kind of continually be moving closer to try to push you forward.
Right.
And something about their culture that's like this constant.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Get people to do what I would do in their place.
Yeah, it's very strange, but alien mentality. But so my dad finally turned around to this fella and stuck out his arm and said, "Hey, you see this?" And the fella's like, "What? He's like, "You see this right here? You don't need to be any closer than this to me."
You see, that Thrasher came out
and that dude, he backed up and like turned white and got pale, and he was submissive. Right. I mean, he's the new Yankee man.
That Thrasher, you know, like, hey, look, you're all up in my space, and you know, that's a great example. You know, I was talking to a fella from work the other day.
Yeah.
Black fella from work. We were talking about, you know, this Yankee invasion of Aiken County, and Aiken in particular, the city. And he said, you know, you're right. He said, I was at the grocery store again, and I was going down, pushing my buggy down this aisle, and this is an older gentleman.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, they were sitting there, this couple were sitting there in the aisle, blocking the aisle, basically. It was a man and woman, and when he tried to scoot around the woman, he said, "Excuse me," and he said it, you know, loudly enough that they could both hear, but he said it politely. And she kind of moved off to one side, and when he went around, well, here comes the husband behind her, and apparently he had to then go around the fellow who had just passed him, and just bumps right on past him, you know, just like shoves his way on past him, when he had just said, you know, like I said, the local type had just said, you know, "Excuse me, I'm trying to get through here," and he just, you know, barged his way through, you know, and he said, you know, that encapsulates, you know, the mentality.
That's when you got to put your foot down.
You can be courteous.
And you don't have to pull out a gun and shoot him.
No.
You don't have to shoot him. But just speaking up for yourself.
That reinforces a different stereotype of the Thrasher. You know, when challenging somebody to a duel.
Well, I mean, hell, it's warranted.
I think so. I think they need to bring back dueling.
Hey, I'm all for dueling. And I'm joking about it being warranted. But, I mean, there are times when I think it is
I'm not joking. The fact is that I think so. I think you need to bring back dueling. You know what the fact is? This is the most curious thing in the world. The law says that I go home and I find a man in bed with my wife, I can shoot him.
Really?
You know, right there. If I catch him in flagrante delicto, I can shoot him.
It used to be that would be understood by the public.
Well, I think it still is. You know, the law makes allowances for the heat of the moment, you know, kind of thing, where I just catch him in the act and I go, you know, out of my mind for a second and I shoot him dead and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right? But the old way of dueling said, I give him a fighting chance.
Right.
And I say, all right, that's it. You know, duel tomorrow at noon or whatever and the other. And it was very strictly regulated.
But I think that would be a little different than with your wife. Like, if you caught a man and wife with your, you know, in bed with your wife, I don't think you would give them a chance at that moment. How many men would do that? How many men would do that? A gentleman?
Shit, I'm not going to. But I'm just saying that, you know, back in the day, you know, shooting a man in the back.
Now, if the dude walks up to you with his white glove and slaps you in the face with that, then obviously it's a provocation. He's trying to get you to retaliate.
Well, that's what you're doing to this character. You know, you're saying, or even if you heard about it later.
Yeah.
you heard that this had occurred. You know, he had cuckolded you.
Yeah.
And you give him the old slap or whatnot and the other.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's more honorable to
Meet
say
him at one beneath the oak tree.
yes.
Yeah.
And there would be third parties there
Right.
to make sure that everything happened according to procedure.
Yeah.
I don't know why they ever outlawed dueling. But anyway,
I like it, but you know,
it gives
a
a man a fighting chance. You know,
Yeah.
between the two of you. But and it is more honorable. You're
Yeah.
saying that the world isn't big enough for the two of us, and I'm willing to die over this.
Well, and dueling has, I like that point.
I like that. I'm willing to die over this point of honor. I'm not, I'm not just gonna, suck on it because all my life be bitter that that man lives right over there and he did this thing.
Yeah.
It's him or me.
Yeah.
And I also like the appeal to a third party, divinity, that God decides.
Yeah. I like that too.
God decides who deserves to live past this point.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And the quickest draw, buddy.
You make this sound great. I got to tell you. I've never really thought about how.
If the provocation, I don't care if it's illegal. If the provocation were enough,
Yeah.
I might challenge a man to a duel.
Yeah. You think they would take you up on it?
And you could choose your weapons. Here's your pistol. Here's your saber. Here's your whatever. And at 50 yards, you turn and draw.
Yeah. Well.
And it was very honorable.
50
If
yards
a
long
man
play.
misfired,
Yeah.
if a man misfired,
Right.
the other man had the honorable duty to also fire
Fire,
off
Yeah.
and then have the things reloaded and whatnot, and we go again. He could shoot him,
Yeah.
and it be considered, a legal, outcome to the duel. But
Right.
but anyway,
Well, this is a strange mentality, but today, in
Right.
our society today, because the focus now is on extending life, trying to live forever,
and
not on accepting nature.
and exactly, and there is this, attempt to, persuade us, contrary to our better instincts,
Right.
that there is nothing worth dying for.
Yeah.
There's
You hear that.
nothing
You
worth
hear people
dying for.
saying that. It's
Right.
not worth your health. It's not worth blah, blah, blah.
It's not worth dying for.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a blasphemous
Some
lie.
things are worth dying
Some
for.
things are absolutely worth
Yeah.
dying for, and worth fighting for.
It's also an appeal to an older European, Western view of battle.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. My family is worth fighting and dying for.
Yeah.
My land is worth fighting and dying for.
And also war being a contest, being almost a sport.
Right.
Not that you go out and kill people for the fun of it, but that when you do have battle, it's a match. It's
right.
more
And
than
that's where
just-
jousting,
Yeah.
kind of said, well, let's do it and make it as non-lethal as possible.
Do you know the state sport of Maryland?
What about them?
Do you know what it is? The state sport of Maryland?
Oh, state sport America? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Jousting.
Still?
Jousting.
Still?
Yep. It's amazing.
Like
There's
medieval times or something?
That's
They
a
get out there and
trivia
they-
question you can stump anyone on. No one will
The
guess
state
jousting.
sport of Maryland
Is jousting.